The ultimate weapons. Deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, in a facility unknown to 99.9% of Earth's population, Dr. Victor Rhodes stared at the pulsing blue core of Project Omega. The quantum resonance chamber hummed with barely contained power, its crystalline structure reflecting the determination in his eyes. 30 years of work had led to this moment. Final diagnostic complete, Dr. Rhodes announced Lieutenant Hannah Chen from her monitoring station. The quantum matrix is stable at 99.8% efficiency. Victor nodded, his silver-streaked black hair catching the blue glow of the chamber. At age 58, he had dedicated half his life to creating this single weapon after the Nexus Collective's true nature was discovered. They called themselves peaceful explorers, but their actions spoke differently. Fleet Marshal Jennifer Hayes strode into the chamber, her presence commanding immediate attention. At 45, she had risen through Earth's secret defense force by combining tactical brilliance with unwavering resolve. "Tell me we're ready, Victor. Our deep space arrays just detected their invasion fleet entering the Kuiper belt." "It's ready," Victor replied, gesturing to the massive holographic display. "The quantum disruption wave will work exactly as designed. One shot, one victory, just as you requested." The display showed simulations of the weapon's effect. The Nexus Collective's ships relied on crystalline quantum technology for everything, from propulsion to weapons to life support. Their arrogance in believing humans couldn't understand, let alone counteract, their advanced technology would be their downfall. "Show me again," Jennifer ordered, her eyes scanning the tactical projections. "I want to be absolutely certain." Victor typed commands into the control panel. The Nexus ships use quantum crystalline matrices for their core systems. Their entire civilization is built on this technology. They believe we're centuries away from understanding it. He smiled grimly. "They're wrong." The simulation displayed a massive alien fleet, nearly identical to the one now approaching Earth. At the center, a single pulse of energy expanded outward. As it touched each ship, their crystalline systems shattered instantly, leaving them dead in space. "One shot disrupts their entire quantum field," Victor explained. "Their ships don't just stop working, they completely shut down. No backup systems, no emergency protocols. Everything crashes simultaneously." Jennifer studied the simulation carefully. "And you're certain they can't detect it before it's activated?" "Positive," Hannah interjected, pulling up detailed scans. "The weapon utilizes principles they don't believe we can comprehend. To their sensors, this entire facility looks like a primitive nuclear research station." The deception had been perfect. For 3 decades, Earth had maintained the appearance of a relatively primitive civilization, just beginning to explore its solar system. Meanwhile, facilities like this one had worked tirelessly to understand and counter the Nexus Collective's technology. "Their arrogance is their weakness," Victor said, checking the weapon's power levels. "They don't even bother hiding their technological advances from us because they think we're too primitive to reverse engineer them." Jennifer walked to the quantum chamber, watching the energy pulse rhythmically. "How many ships can it affect?" "All of them," Victor replied confidently. "The disruption wave expands exponentially. The more quantum technology it encounters, the stronger it becomes. Their entire fleet will power down within seconds of each other." A young officer burst into the chamber. "Fleet Marshal, the Nexus Collective has broadcast their demands. They're ordering Earth to surrender unconditionally or face immediate planetary bombardment." Jennifer's expression hardened. Typical, they always announce their intentions, believing resistance is impossible. She turned to Victor. "How long until the weapon is fully charged?" "4 hours," he responded. "We'll be ready well before their fleet reaches optimal strike position." "Good." Jennifer activated the global command network. "All Earth defense forces maintain current protocols. Continue displaying only our decoy ships and defensive systems. Let them think we're scrambling in panic." The massive screens showed the Nexus fleet's approach. Over 10,000 ships, their crystalline hulls gleaming in the starlight, moved with absolute confidence toward Earth. They had conquered dozens of civilizations this way, facing no meaningful resistance. "They expect us to either surrender immediately or attempt some futile last stand with our primitive technology," Jennifer said. "Instead, we'll let them come close, believing victory is certain. Then we'll show them humanity's real power." Victor ran another diagnostic on the quantum disruption chamber. 30 years of work, all leading to one perfect moment. The Nexus Collective had never faced defeat because no species had ever truly surprised them. Until now. One move, Jennifer said, watching the enemy fleets approach. That's all we'll need. One move to protect Earth. One move to show the galaxy that humanity will never bow to tyranny. The quantum chamber's hum intensified slightly, its blue glow pulsing like a heartbeat. In a few hours, it would unleash a wave of energy that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Nexus Collective was about to learn that underestimating humanity was the last mistake they would ever make. The approaching storm. Supreme Overseer Cathax stood on the command deck of the Crystalline Dominance, his translucent form shifting colors with barely contained anticipation. The holographic display showed Earth growing larger as his invasion fleet approached. 10,000 ships strong, the largest force ever assembled by the Nexus Collective, all to claim a primitive world that still relied on chemical rockets and basic ion drives. Pitiful, he communicated, his body flashing shades of contempt. Their largest military vessel is smaller than our scout ships. The neural network connecting all Nexus commanders pulsed with amusement at his observation. Below the surface of Mars, in the hidden command center of Earth's true defense force, Fleet Marshal Jennifer Hayes watched the enemies approach through quantum-encrypted feeds. They're proceeding exactly as predicted, she noted to her staff. Their formation shows they expect zero resistance. The massive underground facility buzzed with controlled activity. Officers monitored real-time data from thousands of cloaked sensors scattered throughout the solar system. Every movement of the Nexus fleet was tracked, analyzed, and fed into the targeting computers for humanity's one devastating strike. Update from Dr. Rhodes, Lieutenant Hannah Chen reported. The quantum disruption weapon is at full charge. We can fire at any time. Jennifer nodded, studying the tactical display. Show me their approach vector again. The hologram shifted, displaying the Nexus fleet's trajectory. Their ships moved in a ceremonial formation, designed more for intimidation than combat efficiency. They weren't even bothering with basic defensive screening. Aboard the Crystalline Dominance, Cathax received the latest sensor data. Curious, he communicated to his command staff, the humans appear to be powering up some form of planetary defense system. His skin rippled with dismissive patterns. Primitive energy weapons, no doubt, they can't even penetrate our basic shields. Supreme Overseer, his second-in-command, Valthar, approached. Should we adjust our formation to account for their defenses? Cathax's body flashed with derision. Unnecessary, let them witness the futility of resistance. Our scans show their technology is centuries behind ours. This will be a harvest, not a battle. In the Mars Command Center, Jennifer received word from Earth's surface. Dr. Rhodes reports the weapon is locked on target. He's synchronized the quantum field to match their fleet's resonance frequency. Perfect. Jennifer activated the global command network. All Earth Defense Forces execute Protocol Omega. I repeat, execute Protocol Omega. Across the solar system, Earth's visible military assets began what appeared to be a desperate attempt at defense. Old-style ships moved into clearly predictable formations. Ground-based weapons powered up, their energy signatures deliberately obvious to Nexus sensors. Cathax watched with amusement as Earth's forces scrambled to respond. Their ships were painfully slow, their movements broadcast their intentions clearly. This would be even easier than expected. Supreme Overseer, Valthar reported, their primitive communications channels are filled with panic. Their leaders appear to be considering our demands for surrender. As expected, Cathax communicated, his body glowing with triumph. Begin the harvest preparation sequence. Calculate optimal positions for our resource extraction platforms. The Nexus fleet continued its advance, their crystalline ships creating a spectacular light show as they caught the sun's rays. They had performed this same operation on dozens of worlds. Their technological superiority made resistance impossible. Their quantum-based systems were centuries beyond anything a primitive species could comprehend, let alone counter. Jennifer watched them approach the optimal firing position. Status of the quantum disruption chamber. Energy levels stable at 100%, Hannah reported. Dr. Rhodes has fine-tuned the resonance frequency to match their exact quantum signature. The weapon will affect every ship in their fleet simultaneously. The Nexus fleet moved closer, their formation spreading out to encircle Earth. They were positioning themselves exactly where humanity wanted them, their arrogance making them blind to the trap they were entering. They're still broadcasting demands, an officer reported. They're giving Earth one final chance to surrender before they begin their harvest operation. Jennifer's expression hardened. Send our response. A single message was transmitted on all frequencies. Earth declines. Cathax received the message, his body flashing with amusement and contempt. Their primitive defiance is almost admirable, he communicated to his fleet commanders. Begin final approach. Prepare to demonstrate our power. The Nexus fleet moved into their final attack position, their ships spreading out in a perfect spherical formation around Earth. 10,000 crystalline vessels, each one a masterpiece of advanced technology, preparing to subjugate what they believed to be a helpless world. They're in position, Hannah announced, her voice tense with anticipation. Jennifer nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. 30 years of preparation, all leading to this moment. The enemy had arranged themselves perfectly, believing they were about to demonstrate their overwhelming superiority. Instead, they were about to learn the cost of underestimating humanity. Connect me to Dr. Rhodes, she ordered. The quantum encrypted channel opened instantly. Victor, are you ready to make history? The weapon is primed, his voice came through clearly. One shot, one victory, just as we planned. Jennifer took a deep breath, looking at the massive display showing the Nexus fleet surrounding Earth. They had come expecting to find a primitive species ready for harvest. In moments, they would discover just how wrong they were. Prepare to fire, she commanded. The Nexus Collective is about to learn that humanity doesn't surrender. We evolve, we adapt, and we survive. The perfect strike. The quantum disruption chamber pulsed with blinding intensity as Dr. Victor Rhodes initiated the final activation sequence. Decades of work, countless sacrifices, and humanity's future all converged on this single moment. In the crystalline core, energies that the Nexus Collective believed impossible for humans to harness swirled with barely contained power. Quantum resonance at maximum, Lieutenant Hannah Chen reported, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. Wave frequency matched to their fleet's signature. We have perfect synchronization. Above Earth, Supreme Overseer Cathax prepared to begin the harvest operation. His massive fleet hung in space like a net of crystalline stars, surrounding the planet in a display of overwhelming force. Commence final intimidation protocol, he commanded, his body glowing with anticipated triumph. Massive energy weapons charged across the Nexus fleet. They would destroy a few of Earth's primitive military installations first, a demonstration of power to ensure complete submission. Cathax's body rippled with satisfaction as he watched the humans' outdated vessels desperately maintaining their defensive positions. In the Mars Command Center, Fleet Marshal Jennifer Hayes stood before the tactical display, her expression carved from stone. Status of enemy fleet. They're exactly where we want them, an officer reported. Their formation is perfect for maximum weapon effectiveness. They've spread themselves in a complete sphere around Earth just as predicted. Jennifer allowed herself a small smile. The Nexus Collective's own tactical doctrine had sealed their fate. Their standard intimidation formation, designed to demonstrate their overwhelming superiority, had placed every ship within the quantum disruption wave's effective radius. Dr. Rhodes, she called through the quantum encrypted channel, it's time. In the Himalayan facility, Victor took one final look at the weapon's diagnostics. Everything was perfect. The quantum matrices were aligned, the energy levels were stable, and the targeting systems were locked. Humanity would have exactly one shot at this. It had to work. Beginning final countdown, he announced. The chamber's hum rose to a fever pitch as the accumulated energy of 3 decades of research prepared to be unleashed. Aboard the crystalline Dominance, Cathax's second-in-command suddenly noticed an anomaly. Supreme Overseer, I'm detecting an unusual energy signature from the planet's surface. Irrelevant, Cathax dismissed. Their primitive technology poses no threat to our quantum-based systems. His body flashed with command patterns. Prepare to fire the first salvo. Let them witness true power. 10 seconds to weapon release, Hannah counted down in the Mars facility. Jennifer watched the numbers drop, each moment feeling like an eternity. 5 seconds. Cathax raised his appendage to give the fire command. 3 seconds. The Nexus fleet's weapons reached full charge. 1 second. Victor's hand hovered over the activation crystal. Fire. In the depths of the Himalayan mountain range, the quantum disruption chamber released its payload. A pulse of invisible energy exploded outward at faster-than-light speed, expanding in a perfect sphere that engulfed the entire Nexus fleet in less than a microsecond. For a brief moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a wave of darkness sweeping across a starlit sky, the effects began. The first sign was the failing of the Nexus ship's external illumination. The crystalline hulls, moments ago gleaming with power, suddenly darkened. Then, ship by ship, system by system, the entire fleet began to die. "What's happening?" Cathax's body flashed with alarm as warnings blared across his command deck. "All systems are failing. The quantum cores are," his words cut off as the crystalline dominance's power grid collapsed. In perfect synchronization, 10,000 ships lost power. Their quantum-based technology, the pride of the Nexus Collective, proved to be their greatest weakness. The disruption wave shattered their carefully maintained quantum fields, turning their advanced systems into useless crystal. "Direct hit," Hannah reported, her voice tight with controlled excitement. "The quantum disruption wave is affecting all enemy vessels simultaneously. Their systems are crashing exactly as predicted." Jennifer watched the tactical display as ship after ship went dark. The mighty Nexus fleet, which had arrived expecting an easy victory, now drifted helplessly in space. No power, no weapons, no life support, just crystalline hulks floating in orbit. "Status of enemy fleet," she demanded. "Total systems failure across all vessels," came the response. "Their quantum cores are completely destroyed. They have no backup systems, no emergency power. Everything dependent on their quantum technology is dead." Victor's voice came through the command channel, tired but triumphant. "The weapon performed exactly as designed. One shot, one victory, just as we promised." In the void of space, the Nexus fleet had become a graveyard of powerless ships. Their perfect formation, meant to demonstrate their superiority, now served only to display the completeness of their defeat. Earth's single strike had transformed the most powerful invasion force ever assembled by the Nexus Collective into orbital debris. Jennifer activated the Global Command Network. "All Earth Defense Forces execute recovery protocols, begin rescue operations for surviving enemy crew, show them that humanity knows how to win with honor." As Earth's primitive ships moved to rescue their defeated enemies, the truth of what had happened began to spread through the galaxy. Humanity had not just defeated the invincible Nexus Collective. They had done it with a single, devastating move that changed the balance of power forever. The quantum disruption weapon had worked perfectly, but it was humanity's patience, ingenuity, and strategic brilliance that had made victory possible. They had hidden their true capabilities, waited for the perfect moment, and struck with devastating precision. In the Mars Command Center, Jennifer watched the rescue operations begin. "Send word to Earth's governments. They can begin the announcement. Humanity is no longer hiding. The galaxy needs to know that we will never be harvested, never be conquered, and never surrender." The age of human expansion into the stars was about to begin, heralded by a single strike that had brought down an empire. Shockwaves through the galaxy. The news spread across interstellar communications networks at light speed. The invincible Nexus Collective fleet had been defeated, not in a prolonged battle, not through superior numbers, but with a single, devastating strike from a species they had dismissed as primitive. In the Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Confederation, representatives from 100 worlds watched the recorded footage in stunned silence. The mighty crystalline ships of the Nexus Collective, darkening one by one like stars being extinguished, until 10,000 vessels hung powerless in Earth's orbit. "Impossible," whispered High Chancellor Zorax of the Vega Alliance, his tentacles writhing in agitation. "The humans were pre-FTL just 3 decades ago. How could they?" On Mars Command, Fleet Marshal Jennifer Hayes was dealing with a different kind of aftermath. "Status of rescue operations?" she asked, watching the massive holographic display where Earth ships continued to retrieve survivors from the dead Nexus vessels. "We've rescued approximately 60% of their crews," reported Captain Marcus Rodriguez, coordination chief for the recovery effort. "Most are in shock. They can't comprehend what happened to their technology." Supreme Overseer Cathax, now a prisoner aboard Earth's flagship Guardian, stared through the observation window at his powerless fleet. His once translucent body had turned a dull gray of defeat and incomprehension. "How?" he asked Jennifer, who had come to speak with him personally. How did you develop technology that could shatter our quantum matrices? Jennifer studied the alien leader carefully. We did what humanity has always done. We adapted, we learned, and we planned. Your people gave us 30 years to prepare while believing we were too primitive to be a threat. In the Himalayan facility, Dr. Victor Rhodes supervised the quantum disruption chamber's power-down sequence. The weapon had performed perfectly, but he knew its single use had changed everything. Lieutenant Hannah Chen approached with a data tablet. Sir, we're receiving transmissions from everywhere, she said, her eyes wide. Every major galactic power is trying to contact Earth. The Arcturus Federation, the Sirius Consortium, even the Orion League. They all want to know how we did it. Victor smiled tiredly. They want to know how the primitives brought down the mightiest fleet in the galaxy, but that's not the real question they should be asking. What is, Hannah asked. They should be asking what else we've developed in those 30 years of pretending to be harmless. The answer to that question was already sending shockwaves through galactic society. In the Nexus Collective's capital world, the ruling Council of Elders convened an emergency session. Their civilization, built entirely on quantum crystalline technology, had just witnessed their invincible fleet neutralized by a single human weapon. The implications are staggering, First Elder Siantar communicated to the Council. If the humans could develop this weapon while hiding their true technological level, what other advances have they concealed? Back on Earth, the planet's governments began the carefully planned transition to open galactic status. Massive hidden shipyards emerged from underground bases and oceanic depths. Advanced research facilities, concealed for decades, revealed technologies that rivaled or surpassed those of the galaxy's leading powers. In Mars Command, Jennifer received a priority communication from Earth's unified government. Fleet Marshal, the Security Council has approved Operation Revelation. You may proceed with Phase 2. Understood, Jennifer replied, turning to her staff. Begin uncloaking the defense grid. Across the solar system, thousands of automated defense platforms shimmed into visibility, each one armed with quantum disruption technology, creating an impenetrable barrier around Earth's territory. The message was clear: humanity would never again be vulnerable. Captain Rodriguez approached with another update. Marshal, we're detecting multiple diplomatic vessels approaching the system. They're all broadcasting peaceful intentions and requests for dialogue. The same powers that ignored us or dismissed us as primitive now want to talk, Jennifer observed. Amazing what one demonstration of strength can do. In the medical bay of the Guardian, doctors treated the rescued Nexus crew members. Many were still struggling to accept what had happened. Their entire worldview, based on technological superiority, had been shattered along with their quantum cores. Your people could have destroyed us all, Kathax said to Jennifer during their second meeting. That weapon could have killed every crew member instead of just disabling our ships. Why show mercy? Because that's not who we are, Jennifer replied firmly. Humanity developed this weapon to defend ourselves, not to commit genocide. We wanted to stop your invasion, not destroy your civilization. This response, transmitted across galactic networks, did more to establish humanity's new position than any show of force. They had defeated the universe's greatest military power not through brutality, but through ingenuity and precision. In the following days, Earth's diplomatic corps worked overtime as messages poured in from across the galaxy. Trade offers, alliance proposals, and diplomatic recognition flooded their communications channels. The same species that had been ignored as primitive was now the focus of intense galactic interest. Dr. Rhodes, watching the diplomatic frenzy from his facility, summarized it perfectly to his team. We didn't just destroy their fleet, we shattered their assumptions. The galaxy believed they knew humanity's limits. Now they're realizing they never understood us at all. The quantum disruption weapon had done more than win a battle. It had demonstrated humanity's potential to the galaxy. In one perfect strike, Earth had transformed from a primitive, world-awaiting harvest into a power that could not be ignored. Dawn of a new era. 6 months after humanity's stunning victory over the Nexus Collective, the gleaming spires of the newly constructed Terran Diplomatic Center rose from the plains of Geneva. Inside its grand assembly hall, Fleet Marshal Jennifer Hayes stood before representatives from over 200 galactic civilizations. Humanity did not seek this conflict, she addressed the assembled delegates, her voice carrying across the chamber. We developed the quantum disruption weapon not out of a desire for power, but because we refused to become another harvested world. Our victory through a single strike wasn't just about military superiority, it was proof that underestimating humanity is a grave mistake. In orbit above Earth, the transformed remains of the Nexus fleet served as both memorial and message. Half the disabled ships had been converted into a massive space station, now serving as the headquarters for the newly formed Galactic Cooperation Initiative. The other half had been returned to the Nexus Collective, along with their crews, a gesture of peace that had shocked the galactic community as much as the military victory itself. Dr. Victor Rhodes, now heading Earth's Advanced Technologies Division, led a delegation of alien scientists through the publicly accessible sections of his facility. The quantum disruption technology was just the beginning, he explained to his awestruck visitors. We spent those 30 years developing more than just weapons. We wanted to understand the fundamental forces of the universe. The truth of his words was evident in the revolutionary technologies Earth was now sharing with peaceful civilizations. Clean energy systems that dwarfed traditional fusion power, medical advances that could cure diseases thought incurable, and transportation innovations that made traditional FTL travel seem primitive. In the former throne room of the Nexus Collective's capital world, Supreme Overseer Cathax, now first speaker of the Reformed Collective, addressed his own people. His once crystalline body had been modified to rely less on quantum technology, a change symbolic of their civilization's transformation. Our defeat by Earth taught us an invaluable lesson, he communicated to billions of viewers across former Nexus space. True strength lies not in technological superiority or military might, but in the ability to adapt, to innovate, and to show wisdom in both victory and defeat. The humans did not destroy us when they could have. Instead, they offered partnership. The impact of humanity's single, decisive victory continued to reshape galactic society. The age of empire building through force was ending, replaced by a new era of cooperation and mutual advancement. The quantum disruption weapon had demonstrated that even the mightiest civilization could fall to a single, well-planned strike, making military conquest an increasingly dangerous gamble. Lieutenant Hannah Chen, promoted to Director of Interspecies Scientific Exchange, worked with teams from dozens of worlds in the new Geneva facility. Every species brings unique perspectives and abilities, she explained to a group of young officers. Earth's victory showed us that progress comes not from domination but from combining our strengths. In Mars Command, now the headquarters of Earth's Space Defense Force, Jennifer reviewed reports from across human space. Colony ships were launching to newly acquired territories, peaceful expansions negotiated with neighboring civilizations. Trade routes crisscrossed the solar system, bringing technologies and cultures together in ways previously unimaginable. To think, Captain Rodriguez mused during a staff meeting, all of this began with a single shot. One move that brought down an empire and lifted humanity to the stars. Not just the shot, Jennifer corrected him. It was the patience to wait, the wisdom to plan, and the restraint to use our power responsibly. That's what truly transformed our place in the galaxy. The quantum disruption weapon itself had been retired, its core permanently deactivated in a public ceremony. Its purpose had been served not just in defeating an enemy, but in demonstrating humanity's potential. Earth had proven that a seemingly primitive species could rise to defeat a galactic superpower through ingenuity and determination. Dr. Rhodes, in his final public address before retiring to focus on research, summed up humanity's transformation. We entered the galactic stage not as conquerors or victims, but as innovators. Our victory came not from overwhelming force, but from one perfect strike that showed the galaxy who we really are, a species that should never be underestimated. A year after the battle, Earth hosted the first Galactic Unity Conference. Representatives from former enemy and neutral worlds alike gathered to sign new treaties of cooperation and exchange. The Nexus Collective's attempted harvest of Earth had instead seeded something entirely unexpected, a new age of galactic cooperation. In the conference's opening ceremony, Jennifer stood alongside Cathax and leaders from across the galaxy. Looking out at the assembled delegates, she reflected on how a single moment of calculated strength had achieved what centuries of warfare could not. The stars once seemed to hold only threats, she told the assembly. But our response to those threats, our single decisive move, proved that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our ability to turn moments of conflict into opportunities for progress. As night fell over Geneva, the lights of thousands of alien vessels twinkled in the sky alongside the stars. Each one represented a civilization that had come not to conquer or trade, but to learn from the species that had changed the galaxy with one perfect strike. Humanity had not just survived its trial by fire, it had emerged as a guiding light for a new galactic future. Earth's quantum disruption weapon had won more than a battle. That single devastating move had shattered not just an invasion fleet, but the very foundations of galactic warfare. In its place rose something far more powerful, the understanding that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to know when and how to use power to forge a better future for all.